The water shortage in the Southwest is projected to continue for years to come. To get people in the Vegas Valley to cut back, a new fee schedule is now in place. Every residential customer now pays the same amount for the same amount of water, regardless of their property size. And those who use the most are now paying a surcharge, $9 for every 1,000 gallons of water beyond what is allowed. So are the new rates producing results? That is a question the Clark County Commission is looking to answer.
I've spoken to many of my neighbors. We are being targeted, we feel.
Lisa Scuro says her water bill, with excess usage fees now tacked on, is excessive.
Our water bills are more than our mortgage payments.
She says she bought her home built in the 70s decades ago on 3/4 of an acre because she loved the open land. Now she hates her bill.
Please take pity on us. If anything, give us some relief.
During a presentation by the Las Vegas Valley Water District on the tier equalization and excessive use charges that went into effect at the beginning of the year, this chart showed the most extreme water bills. The top 10%, people using 115,000 gallons in a summer month, could be paying $606 with an additional $783 in excess use fees.
Gets into that $1,300 a month range.
Commissioner William McCurdy questioned the excess charges.
I've received phone calls from constituents, many of them seniors, and literally in tears, trying to understand how they're going to continue to pay their bills.
The response? The fees for excess use are meant to get the biggest users to cut back.
The reason is pretty simple. The top 10% of our water users use more than the bottom 60%.
The Water District says most customers repeatedly being charged for excess use are on less than a 1/4 acre. To date, the excess use charge has collected a little more than $10 million, which will fund further conservation programs.
We want, our customers to be able to adapt to these conditions. In a perfect world, we wouldn't be collecting one dime of excess use revenue.
And the Water District says most properties hit with an excess use charge do cut back on their water usage. They have a number of recommendations on how to do so, and you can see the list here. Since implementing the excessive use charge back in January, they estimate that the water savings are more than 1 billion gallons, and they project to reach more than 2.5 billion gallons by the end of the year.